Hello, readers and listeners of Alternative Right. This is Colin Liddell, the Chief Editor. This is designed to be a short 5 to 10 minute podcast updating our audience on matters relating to the site and also commenting on events of the day. And today is the 2nd of February 2017. Now, there's been a bit of a gap between this short pod and the previous one. Now, the reason for that is not because of a dearth of topics, but rather because of an excess of them. So much has happened in the last 10 days or so. It's actually quite hard to just stay on top of it. You just have to trail along in its wake most of the time. There's been all sorts of things happening. And on our end, we've been very busy creating alt-right content. In particular, I should probably draw attention to alt-right news. This is designed to be a much more up-to-the-minute newsy kind of site with a lighter and, in a sense, more informal approach. Now, the reason for that, of course, is because when you're reacting to the news, you have to be very, very fast. You don't have time to double check everything or to be too serious. The idea is to get the story out there pretty quick, put a bit of an alt-right spin on it, and then move on. But I'm not going to talk about that today. Instead, I'm going to talk about more general trends in the alt-right, in the political ecosystem in general. In the last 10 days or so, since Donald Trump assumed the office of president, he has been extremely busy. He's hit the ground running. He's doing a lot of the things that he actually said he would do. Pretty amazing for any politician to actually do what he says, but there's Donald Trump doing it in spades. And what's happened because of this is that the left wing is in a kind of hysterical panic. And a lot of this started with the inauguration itself. And up until that moment, I think a lot of left-wing people were still in denial. They were still kind of hoping that some miracle, some deus ex machina would come out and prevent Trump becoming president. But, of course, that didn't happen. It couldn't have happened. It would have led to anarchy or worse. And in a way, that would have suited the alt-right very, very nicely, to be honest. But in fact, Donald Trump did assume office. And at that moment, the left basically lost their shit, I think. They'd been hoping against hope. They had been hanging on to the last straws of their disintegrating dream. And then they had to face the reality that Trump was the president. Not only that, but that Trump was a very potent president who was coming in, swinging his fucking hammer and sweeping aside the flimsy legacy of Barack Obama and implementing what they felt were very hard and cruel and unkind measures. Although to most people, they appear as obvious common sense. Now, in particular, I'd just like to briefly mention that Trump's Muslim ban, so-called Muslim ban, I believe that was implemented for a very functional reason. The left can't understand functional reasons. They assume that everything is done for an emotional reason. So if Trump bans Muslims, they think, oh, Trump must hate Muslims. Like that. Now, my belief is that Trump is planning, as he said in his campaign speeches, he's planning to destroy ISIS, and he's going to hit them pretty hard and quite soon. I would say he's quite likely to start an aggressive campaign against them, within 30 to 40 days, the early spring, that period. And, of course, when Mad Dog Mattis and the American military hove into view over the sands of Syria and Iraq and start pummeling the hell out of ISIS, probably in cooperation with the Russians and a few other people down there, then ISIS are going to have their backs up against the wall and they won't have too many ways to hit back. But what I believe they will do, they will try to attack soft targets in America and in Europe. Now, Trump's Muslim ban, his ban against nationals from certain states coming into America for a 90-day period largely, that is simply designed to insulate America from the backlash of ISIS, the inevitable backlash, because Trump is committed to wiping them out. Now, of course, because Trump has come in and he's doing all these very, very common sense policies and he's ignoring leftist hysteria, the left, which has been very, very kind of hegemonic and dominant in American society for certainly during the Obama years and even to a certain extent before then, in the Bush years and the Clinton years, the left has been pushed out of the center. So what we're seeing now, we're seeing the displacement of the left, and we're seeing an assertion of kind of common sense populism, which is, essentially non-ideological. It's reality based. It's not based on idealism and errant emotions. And so because of that, the left has this kind of amorphous entity, this collection of freaks and weirdos, oddball emotions, weird decontextualized morality, whatever you want to call it. That thing, the left, has been displaced from its cozy center where it was dominating everything. And so it's going into a bit of a meltdown. And so in the few areas where it's still dominant, it's lashing out. And an example of that is what happened at Berkeley University in California, where Milo Yiannopoulos was scheduled to speak. Now, Milo is a very innocuous individual, really. He's almost a conservative, to be honest. But he has some kind of association with the alt-right, or the term alt-right. And, of course, he is a firm supporter of Donald Trump. And so for the left to think that everybody to the right of Bernie Sanders is literally Hitler, he is a fearsome, monstrous individual. And so the few places where the left is still dominant, that would include Hollywood, that would include university colleges, that would include, some local areas, some city governments. In those areas where the left is dominant, still dominant, those pockets, those enclaves, they are then overreacting and lashing out and doubling down and basically going berserk. And we saw this also at the Screen Actors Guild Awards, where the cast of Stranger Things won an award, and this was followed up by an obviously rabid speech by the main actor, and some very, very eccentric behaviour by Winona Ryder. Now, of course, some of this displaced leftist hysteria is being channeled into various forms of violence as well, against Milo, against other members of the alt-right, and I don't think it's a serious problem. I think it's definitely something the alt-right can handle reasonably well, and it's definitely heartening to see the left melting down. So the takeaway message from this is that the left is basically shitting bricks. They're basically melting down. They've got no home to go to. They're displaced. They're flailing around like an octopus yanked from the bottom of the sea and thrown onto the burning sand. Anyway, I think that's enough for now. So, over and out.